at the larger companies, you tend to find yourself in a specific role. I just didn't like the feel of the larger companies. I wanted a little bit more. They need you to be efficient. Challenges you face day to day are kind of expected. I was the lead scientist in the lab, and now I'm the manager over the entire laboratory. We've had a shift over the past several years. Molecules have become more complicated. We're doing new things. So the technology and the resources has to grow and improve.
All right, welcome to another episode of Life Sciences 360 from wherever you're listening or watching this episode. My guest today is Ryan Memmer. He is the manager of quality control and product development at Singota Solutions. It's a CDMO based in Indiana. So, welcome to the show, Ryan. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Harsh. I appreciate the introduction and thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know that you've been at Singota over 6 years now.
Yeah, about 6 years this month.
Right, great. So congrats on that passing the 5-year mark, because that's a big milestone for a lot of us. Uh, Walk me through your day one. How did you end up at Singota?
Great. So I've been in the industry for about 15 years now, in the pharmaceutical industry, and before Singota, I'd worked at the larger big pharma companies. Right after graduating college, I worked at Roche Diagnostics, got my quality control experience there, kind of my first job, right? And then from there, I worked at Eli Lilly in development as an analytical chemist. Got a lot of really golden experience there, and that's where I think I really drew a passion for what I do today. And so, seeing myself kind of grow within those larger organizations, I found myself then at a CDMO in Bloomington. So I came back to the school I graduated from, the city where I met my wife. And then, I just didn't like the feel of the larger companies, right? I wanted a little bit more. And so I found Singota. We're a little smaller. And so with that, you get a lot more responsibility, within the company. You wear a lot of different hats. And then with my previous experience at those larger companies, I was able to really get a foothold on my contributions and what that looks like here at Singota. And I've continued to grow since then. So I was the lead scientist in the lab, kind of starting out. We were fairly small. There was about 4 scientists. And now, over the years, we've grown. There's 16 of us. That I've taken on bigger projects, contributed a lot, more in the department and as the company as a whole. And now I'm the manager over the entire laboratory, which consists of quality control and product development.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I can resonate with you on the shift from working at a bigger company to coming to a smaller. I've gone through that same path where I was working in QA and compliance roles at bigger companies like Bristol Myers Squibb, and then went on to start my consulting agency and work with smaller startups. It's not easy. It's for some people, they prefer one over the other just because of the reasons that you stated. But yeah, I can resonate with you. But I guess that's a good segue to my next question is you left the bigger company to come to Singota, which is, fast paced, tons of different projects going on. But I'm sure there's tons of challenges that also come with that kind of lifestyle, right? So can you share some of the challenges you faced in this fast paced CDMO culture, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the larger companies, right, you tend to find yourself in a specific role, right? They need you to be efficient in those roles. And so the challenges you face day to day are kind of expected, right?
Yeah.
You get really good at your position and your job. Here at Singota, though, most of our clients are that phase 1 early product development, leading to a process that we are manufacturing, right, for the first time for a new molecule, new product that our clients are looking to submit their first IND for.
Yep.
And so the challenges we face is really around the knowledge, right? That knowledge sharing piece from our clients given to us, right? They may not know a lot about the molecules that we're going to now work on, right? And then with that, we do have accelerated timelines, right? usually the clients are on a budget that is very tight, and the timeline's very tight, so we have to be successful. So we start off kind of sharing that knowledge with clients, designing our products. And so the challenges we face are making sure that we've covered all of our bases, that we've talked through everything, and that we're
Mm.
prepared, right, to manufacture that high quality product that's safe for the patients, right, going into the clinic. And some of those challenges come with maybe not having all of the capabilities or resources
Yes.
that some of the larger companies have. And then other challenges are really around the need to do more development work up front. So we've had a shift over the past several years as molecules have become more complicated, right? We're doing new things, and so the technology and the resources has to grow and improve. And
Hmm.
so with that, right, we have to evaluate even better to make sure that we're successful. And so we've had some strain there, making sure that we have all the testing in place, right? We've established a new risk assessment based approach, and we go over that with our clients to ensure success.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I guess, one of the challenges. And I've talked to other friends and other, experts who are in the CDMO space, and they've also shared things along the similar lines where, uh, you know, when you're in a CDMO, every client's expectations is slightly different, and you have to sort of adjust your process. Uh, and whereas if you're in a bigger company, you pretty much have a vision and direction from management, and it doesn't change a whole lot. It can change a little bit if there's change in leadership or stuff, but it changes more frequently in a CDMO.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say
Yeah.
that it's really there's a big trust component there, right?
Mm.
Especially in early phase work, they may not have a lot of material either, so they're coming to us with their baby, right?
Right,
Their
right.
precious material, and so they want to be successful. We want to be successful,
Yep.
and so we really have to outline different processes, right? They may not be the same for every client, right? Our approach, as you would have with the phase 3 or commercial type environment.
Yeah, definitely. A quick word for our listeners and viewers. If you are enjoying this content and you want us to bring more episodes and more people, like, we're really trying to experiment and reach out people at different companies, different types of, suppliers, vendors, pretty much everybody in the life sciences ecosystem, and trying to bring a wide range of guests. So let us know your feedback. Review us on Apple and Spotify so we can bring you more content and more guests that you like listening to. So going back to what we were talking about, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned that Singota is trying to sort of build a niche in serving the phase one type companies, and you said those companies are too early stage. Maybe they don't have all the details. So what sets Singota apart from other CDMOs to cater to these kind of companies? Can you highlight some of the strengths?
Yeah, so I have to say that Singota, first I'm going to start with its history, right? So it was established as a logistics company, supply chain management, right? And our biggest clients were Eli Lilly, Cook Medical, some of the larger pharma here in Indiana. And then our founder, Elisa Kilgass, she came from those companies, right? She held high level positions at those companies, so she knew the expectations, right, that they had. And then our lab was originally founded as a formulation development lab, so we had all of the kind of leading knowledge up to that early phase work. And then in 2017, we installed our filling machine for manufacturing, and that's when we really started to build our operations. And so from there, right, we really had to evaluate expectations from the clients. And so with our history, with our knowledge, we were able to build kind of these development study type approaches, these risk assessment type approaches to that early phase one work, rather than just accepting the work and going for it. Right, we have a very good handle on what work needs to be done prior, and we come to agreement with our clients on that. And then the other thing I would say is that it's really the people, right? When I first started 6 years ago, there were about 45 employees. Now we have about 110, and we've grown, right, every year, end over end. And so we like to hire people with various backgrounds, right? I may have 10 scientists that do a lot of the analytical work, but their background is in biology and engineering, right? Physics and math. So we have a lot of people that contribute and work integrated together. And so that's another piece that we strive to do is work integrated, right? Cross functionally, scientists with manufacturing, supply chain, QA, and then also be really transparent with our clients, right? That's a big one. Singota, right? We are very active. The managers, including myself, are kind of at the ground level, right? Touching base with everyone. I'll go into the lab a lot to help with investigations, with issues that arise. And then we are very rapid to communicate with our clients, right? We tout ourselves on being Singota faster, but what that really means is how adaptable we are, and how well we are at communicating the needs, the requirements for everything that's going on in order to have success.
Great. Yeah. And that's invaluable, like you mentioned with the story of Singota is, having the founder who had worked in big pharma knows the expectations. So that helps, bring, that sort of mindset into the company. And I'm with you, like a lot of you talked about having people with different backgrounds. I think that's sort of a debatable topic for many people, because I've heard other side of the story where people only want somebody from, like, hey, if you're
Sure.
not from engineering background, you can't work here, right?
Right.
But I've seen people from completely different industries come in life sciences and like get it like right from day one and run with it. Like I've worked with people who came from companies like Boeing, like completely different industry,
Right.
but they come in life sciences. It's a little bit hard at first, but once they understand the basics, they understand the regulatory, the quality, how everything plays together, then it's done, right? They don't need to
Right.
relearn that. So yeah, I've heard both sides. I've heard some people like, no, we can't have people from all these different areas, but like you are more, seems like, open to having a wide range of skills.
I am. I think if you come with a specific set of skills to show that you're capable, right, to do
Mm,
the work, I think that that's key. But then the knowledge piece after, right? You had mentioned, you know, the high regulations and quality aspect, and then just general knowledge of the life sciences industry, right? If you're coming from outside, you may not know all of that, and so there is this big learning curve in the beginning. But from a capability standpoint, right, if you can show that you can critically think, you have that curiosity, right, and that investigation mentality as a scientist or an engineer, then I think the sky's the limit.
yeah, yeah. So for anybody that's listening, maybe they are considering partnering with the CDMO. Maybe they are, Singota's ideal type of client looking for phase one development or some work. What's your elevator pitch for some of the capabilities? Sorry to put you on a spot, but
No, that's good.
yeah,
I think we lead with Singota faster, right? That's
yeah.
always been our motto, right? You're going to go to a larger CDMO and have this expectation. You have your molecule, this project, and they're going to tell you that they're 9 months to a year out, right?
Mm,
I'm going to tell you that we can get the conversation going today, and then we can help build your request and timeline to fit your needs, right? So
yep.
we can usually do something within 2 to 3 months that our competitors take 6 months to a year to do, and that's only because, right, we have that transparency. We're all at the ground level helping communicate those needs, and so and then we're very adaptable,
Yeah.
right? So even though we have our longer standing clients and new ones coming all the time, we slot people in as needed to help facilitate that. And I don't think a lot of the larger um, CDMOs, right, will do that. And then the other thing is that Singota, we cater to those special projects, right, to where they only need a 10-liter batch or even a 1-liter batch, right? Really small amount of product that maybe the patient population for their efficacy in their clinical trials is low, right? Larger companies won't take those jobs, right? It's not kind of worth their investment. And so we'll invest in our clients in that work we'll get to know them personally, right? We'll invite them to come to Singota, right? Meet the people, tour the facility, right? We're open to all the auditing. We'll go out to dinner. We'll really connect with our clients to make to make the client feel like they matter, because they do, right? And that's where every client to us is special, right? You're not just some small project on the side.
And if you were to maybe give a snapshot of the portfolio of clients that you're working with or you worked with over the years, can you maybe share some, without giving any names, like what
Sure.
types of companies or what types of therapeutic areas or products has Singota helped these clients over this your time
Yeah.
with 6 years?
So our clients are broad, right? Starting in supply chain, that can be all the way from the big pharma,
Hmm.
right? With the top 10 or so, right? They are all of our clients.
Okay, great.
And then we'll also have these small companies that are really just virtual companies. So maybe it's a set of engineers that have a new device that they want to trial, and then they're using, say, a compendial product that's well characterized. So they may have a lot of work to do with their device, but then the product side of thing, that's on us to fill and put in there. The molecules that we handle are everything from small peptides, small organics, right, all the way up to monoclonal antibodies, your large proteins, and everything in between. Vaccines, oligonucleotides. So it's really just a combination of whatever fits into our platform. So our
Hmm.
platform is that sterile aqueous product, filled in either a vial, syringe, or cartridge. But we do our best to make it work, right? And that's where these product development studies come into play. We'll look at that formulation. We'll evaluate what studies we need to do to help better characterize the molecules, so that we can be successful for our clients. And so we've had clients, from the start of our operations, say a small peptide in a syringe, that we've taken all the way from phase one, and now they're going commercial. And
Nice.
then we've had other clients, that are a little smaller, and they just needed that initial batch. It was an oligonucleotide, and so it was a new experience for us. But then, we filled that. We have that on stability, and now, everything's going well on their end. We wait for them to return, right? And a lot of our clients too return um, in that phase two development work, right?
Yep.
So after you get that initial IND and clinical trials are successful, they start reevaluating their product, the stability of it, all of the testing surrounding that. And so we work with clients in that development phase as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's good, because I'm sure who people who are listening, and as you shared the capabilities of Singota, I'm trying to think from the listener's point of view. Maybe their next question is, what are some types of clients you worked with? So that was really good. Uh, and I know when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that although the focus is catering to the phase one or the early stage startups, you're not just only focused on that. So you're also trying to help the ones that are going to phase three, but with that you also need to adapt to their requirements, because as you go from left to right, the quality, the compliance, the regulatory expectations take a level up, right? So when so for Singota and for your team, what are some of the areas of improvement that you are discussing with your management to say, hey, in phase one this is okay, but when we go to phase three this process will not fly. we need to
Yeah,
we need
no.
to change.
Um, yeah, absolutely. So that's where you're right. So we have lived in that development space for a long time. The
Yeah.
lab was built around that, right? And so we've started to, as we grow, right, we have to go towards that phase three
Hmm.
commercial environment that's a little more highly regulated, that has those quality aspects you mentioned. So one of the things we're doing now, we actually have a client with us that we're going to fill registration batches for. And then we have a couple clients interested in those process performance qualification batches, the PPQ
Yep.
batches, to lead to commercialization. And so we've started to reevaluate our software, right? That's a big one. You have to
Yeah.
make sure that everything is compliant, that you have redundancies in place. And then we start to look at, our procedures and processes as well, right? To ensure that they're aligning not only with, the early phase work, but also with the strategy around continuous manufacturing on a commercial level,
Yep.
right? And so then we look at the process, right? You leave the lab and the products. Once you have that all established, then you have to look at your process. And
Mm.
so that's where our process development environment and everything we've built around that, we're starting to reevaluate. One of the big things we're doing, we're upgrading our filling machine here. And so that's going to be a big win for us. And then, like I said, with the software, so we're looking at consolidating a lot of our software, improving the quality aspects of it. So looking at it more from a quality assurance aspect
Yep.
rather than a agile, right, development tool.
Mm.
Not to say that we won't still have those capabilities, but we are definitely looking at starting to build that structure, right, that we need to be in place to handle commercial products.
Yeah, because I'm thinking as you mentioned software, you mentioned quality assurance and the QMS processes, that a lot of your clients will also be auditing or doing some assessment of Singota to evaluate your maturity and how you can partner. So it's not just helping your team internally to operate in that frame of mind, but also giving sort of that assurance to your clients that, hey, you can come audit us, we're audit ready, we have all the right people, process, and technology in place to go, because that's what I do in consulting. Like, often clients reach out to me and say, hey, we're partnering with the CDMO, can you do a software and QMS audit? And I've audited, I'm not going to take names here, but I've audited like half a dozen in the last 2 years. So yeah, so that's typically, usually clients want to know that upfront.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it. You're exactly right. So we're looking at QMS. We're looking at learning management system as well. MMS training is always a big one,
Yep.
right, with our people. And then just again having that redundancy as we continue to grow, and then the getting the right people in place, right? So as we've grown, we've seen kind of gaps where I talk about multiple hats that we have to wear, right? If a
Yep.
scientist has been in charge historically of say EH&S, right? Well, now we have an EH&S employee, right? And so we are starting to take that more targeted hiring approach for the needs of the company, right, as we continue to grow.
Right. And you mentioned software. So are there like any specific technologies or any like in the manufacturing or development side, or just in the business operation or quality side, are you implementing any new tools or systems? Again, you don't have to share too much confidential information, but
Sure.
whatever you can would be great.
Yeah, so we are looking at consolidation of kind of the platforms that the bigger companies use,
Hmm.
right? Before, maybe we didn't have the resources available to utilize that software. So now we're looking at some of the what I've historically used, right, in my previous companies. We're starting to evaluate those, and that's the other thing too, is that a lot of our employees had come from those environments as well, so they're very familiar with the technology. So just to name one or two, right, Salesforce is a big one that's out there with TrackWise and the quality systems in there. And then looking at our supply chain services and how we utilize our inventory management, right, is another big one. And now, as we've expanded, right, specifically for supply chain, we're operating out of Europe as well. So we have a supply chain warehouse that can, do sample and dispense, right, shipping, all of that over in Italy. And so we're looking to kind of integrate, right, that software as well. And so it's really just it's all about integration, transparency for our clients, right? So one of the tools that we use allows them to see everything that they have on site, right? See where all of their work is at with Singota.
Interesting. What part of Italy? I'm just curious.
It's close to Milan, Italy.
Oh, oh, great.
Yeah,
I'll be in Milan in 2 weeks for meeting different work related stuff. So
yeah, that's great. I'll be there in October for CPHI.
yes, that's a great one. I went to the one last year in Barcelona uh,
Yes, we
and
were there
met.
as well.
Yeah, so I didn't, maybe I saw Singota there, but I didn't know about you guys then. But I met tons of people that I had, just interacted on LinkedIn or via podcast. This year, I'm not going for personal reasons, But yeah, I went last year in Barcelona.
No, that's great. Yeah, we just expanded right into
Mm,
international now that we do have that warehouse over there. We're seeing some clients come to us from across the globe, right? And so we're starting to go to those international conferences, and then we have a booth there too. So
great.
it's a lot of fun.
Yep. So anybody listening, if you guys want to, meet the team in person, the CPHI is happening in Milan, as Ryan said, this year. So if you're going, stop by and say hello. So I want to ask you now, switching gears to maybe a different side. We talked enough about Singota and the clients, but for somebody who is in the QC or product development role, maybe at a company or starting out their career, and they want to be in your spot, can you walk us through what a day in a life looks like for
Mhm.
you? What kind of stuff are you doing?
Sure. Yeah. So, you start out when you graduate college with your science degree. You typically start out as a member of the lab team, right? What that looks like. A lot of us start out as analytical chemists, right? That's how we're trained. If you're not specialized, say in any other field, but I would say that you have to just acquire all the knowledge you can, right? Don't say no to an experience, to somebody teaching you something that's at that level first. Once you gain that experience in the lab, right, you've gone through, a lot of the rigor of just testing, of formulating things, right, evaluating what we do, right, in the pharmaceutical industry. You start to experience all the troubleshooting, the issues you have. That knowledge then brings you to a level where you can then talk about it, right? And once you have that knowledge, you can communicate externally with clients. You work integrated across several of the departments, and so really it's just you continue to build that portfolio of what you know as it relates to either development to quality control, right? There's so many different facets of what we do. But taking that knowledge and then proving that not only do you have the capability, but how to persevere, right? That's the word I always use, because what we do is not easy, right? It's very challenging. It takes years, right, to bring these products to market. And so if you're not persevering through those challenges, you're not critically thinking, using that investigative mindset, you're going to struggle. And so with that, I also say to lean on your team, right? And so those that have trained you, that have taught you, right, transfer that knowledge, right? Teach others around you, involve them, right? I'm really integrated with my team to learn everything that we can, right? I'm learning every day. And from this role, in the management level, it is about that knowledge sharing, right? Not only do I manage the work and the tasks, right, that we have for our clients, but I also manage the people, their continuing education, and being able to, fulfill their success in industry and what they, where they see themselves as a scientist in the future.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's I'm a big believer of that as well, is sharing knowledge. And I get this question a lot from people on LinkedIn, or, when I'm talking to at a webinar or whatever. It's like, how do I, if I'm starting out in quality, what should I do in the first 3 or 5 years? And like, I don't have a great answer for that, but I always like lean on this one answer, which is try to
Just learn. Yeah.
learn everything about the roles that are connected to quality. So like, you might be, a QA specialist, but try to learn about what regulatory does and how do they work with quality. Then maybe for the next 2 3 months, try to learn about how ClinOps works and how do they run the trials. Just basic stuff. Don't try to take their job, but just learn enough
Right.
so
You're not
that
going to
you
become
know.
an expert, right?
Yes, yes.
But
But if you learned regulatory, ClinOps, manufacturing, lab, you just spend 1 or 2 months learning. Could easily mean just having lunch with a person for 30
sure.
minutes and asking them questions, right? And then reading up some articles or whatever. But that just makes you extremely invaluable, because now every time you do your work, you understand how it affects other
How
people's
it
work.
impacts everyone around you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the part, a lot of us, and I did the same mistake. It's like, okay, I'm done with my job, and then it's like, wait, no, this doesn't work for
It doesn't
so and
end.
yeah, so and so person in manufacturing, because they need it in this format or whatever it is, right? So that's my advice to everyone who is starting out as well, is just try to learn how the other pieces. IT is a big one for us in quality, because we're in software validation. A lot of times quality and IT do not think the same way. And I learned that it was really hard for me the first 2 years, because they were always like going this way. Like quality's like, we have to do this. IT's like, no, I'm doing this. It's like, how do I get them to
And I'm in
come?
the middle trying to talk to them both, right? I have
Yes.
all my instrument software, all of the software that we document with, right? All of that. You're right.
Yeah.
Um,
Ryan, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I, enjoyed learning about your role and Singota. For our listeners who want to connect with you or maybe learn more about the company, can you share, any credentials or social media where they can reach out and learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. I am very active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out. I have a lot of connections and definitely open to talking more about my experience, right? Helping those that are looking to grow as a leader
Yep.
in the pharmaceutical industry. And then always you can visit Singota's website as well. So just again, search for us. We're out there. We're at all the conferences as well and trade shows. We have a very strong, I would say, social media presence.
Okay. Great. Before we wrap up, are there any final thoughts or messages you wanna share with the listeners?
I just, again, I think it really comes down to, especially in this industry, knowledge, right? And sharing
Yeah.
that knowledge and being open to it. And from there, really, the sky's the limit. So if you can prove you're capable, the rest is really up to you and how you grow. So I just want to say thanks again, Harsh, for having me. I
Yep.
appreciate it. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, and wish you and Singota tons of success. And if I'm in Indiana anytime soon, I'll definitely stop by in
Yes,
person. Yeah,
definitely.
thank
All
you.
right. Thanks a lot.
Yep.